Now on to the Women's Series, the third weekend of the Women's Series this weekend, the last before the cut-off for the first Women's World Match Play. How do you see the race playing out this weekend?
Well, I think it's going to be quite interesting because you and I were discussing this before we started recording, but the UKDA National League finals are this weekend. And I had a look at the entry list earlier, and I couldn't initially determine whether this was an entry list or a list of people who had qualified to play. But a bit of digging on the UKDA website says it's a list of entries. So I'm taking it from that means those players will not be playing in the Women's Series. Now, most of those are county players. They're players lower down in that Women's Series order of merit, or players who didn't play in the other ones, like Paula Jacklin, for example. But the two names that stood out to me as being registered for the UKDA weekend were Rhiannon Griffiths, who's fifth on that Women's Series order of merit, and Trina Gulliver, who's sixth and won one of the events during the last block. So it's a little odd that those two are missing it. I know they are big county players and playing for their county is important for them, but you would have thought that the opportunity to play on TV and play on that Winter Garden stage would have been important as well. Now, they might have entered both of them and have chosen to play PDC one. They might choose to play the UKDA one. I don't know, but that did certainly throw me off a little bit. I'll put it that way. But in terms of the race panning out, I think the top two, obviously Lisa Ashton and Fallon Sherrock, are mathematically qualified, essentially. Ryan Winstanley in third, I think she's a fairly safe bet as well. She's been playing quite well recently, and you'd fancy her to get at least a couple of decent runs during the weekend. Same probably goes for Laura Turner in fourth. But I think those last couple of places, particularly if Rhiannon and Trina aren't playing, are very much up for grabs. I would fancy Robin Byrne and Katie Sheldon to go quite well. They're coming off the high of winning that Six Nations at the weekend just gone. And I think they're both sort of driven and motivated and playing really well. So I think both of them, a couple of decent runs during the weekend, they'll be in qualification places as well. I think Jo Locke's probably not far away. She's certainly got the game to get into one of those top 8 places. And then the other one, again, I don't know if she's going to be playing, but would be Rhiannon O'Sullivan, because she's been absolutely outstanding on the WDF Tour. Recently, of course, semi-finalist at the World Championships, Dutch Open finalist, got to the finals of the Six Nations singles, and then in the Six Nations team event, won all 9 legs that she played during the weekend. She's playing exceptionally well right now. And if she goes and a couple of draws fall her way, I would fancy her to make a real dent and pick up some really good money.
Yeah, and that's a great point you make there about the UKDA this weekend. You also mentioned to me off air as well, we've got the WDF events in Romania, which we're going to see Bo Greaves go to. So we're not going to see the reigning world champion make a last-ditch effort to get into this Women's World Match Play. And 4 events, the form that she's in at the moment, you would have fancied her maybe to go on a few deep runs and push herself into that top 8. But we're not going to see her do that this weekend. But of the players that we are going to see in this, and it does feel like a long time since the last Women's Series weekend. I think it's 7 or 8 weeks ago that we saw Trina Gulliver win that title, Laura Turner go back-to-back finals on the same day. And I think that's pretty fair that the top 4 at the moment, Lisa, Fallon, Lorraine and Laura, they're looking pretty set. I think they can, well, at least the top 3, I'd say, of those, they're booking their Blackpool B&B. They're looking forward to a day out at Pirates Bay on the Saturday and then playing on the Sunday afternoon at the Winter Gardens. But the rest of the spots, I think, yeah, they are pretty much open, aren't they? And you look at the list of players there. I was going to mention, like you just did, the 2 young Irish players, Robin Byrne and Katie Sheldon. The last Women's Series that we had, of course, that 1-2-2 checkout on the ball for Katie to beat Fallon Sherrock in the semi-finals 5-4, one of the checkouts of the year. She'll be brimming with confidence going into this weekend. Robin, she's made a final this year as well. I think they're definitely 2 players to watch out for. Jo Locke, a player very close to where I live, a former Stowmarket Open winner. She'll be in the mix as well. Mikuru Suzuki, she only played the first time. The second weekend, she missed the first weekend, but £950. If she can replicate that, you'd probably say that'll be enough to get in to the Women's World Match Play. That's if she's entered this weekend. Kirsty Hutchinson, of course, friend of the show. She'll be in the mix as well. Rhiannon O'Sullivan. I think there's a lot of names in there that are going to be pushing for those top 8 spots. And one player that we might not see on that first day, the Saturday, Fallon Sherrock. She's playing in the World Series in the Netherlands this weekend, which starts on Friday. If she wins her first round game, she'll be playing on the Saturday. So that's one of the big names that could potentially be missing on that Saturday before she comes back and plays on the Sunday. So not just the women's World Matchplay spots, but if Fallon is playing on Saturday in the Netherlands, you're looking at the likes of Lorraine and Laura, if they can go on a couple of big runs, close that gap on the Ali Pali spots. Of course, the top 2 qualify for the World Championship at the moment. It is quite a sizable gap between second and third and the rest of the field. So if Fallon isn't there on Saturday, that's an opportunity for those players to really close the gap. But yeah, I think it's plenty to play for. I think at least 4, maybe 5 spots to play for. And one of the players, she may be playing in the UKDA this weekend, but Jane Densley, someone that I don't think many of us have heard of before, but she's made her mark in this women's series so far this year. She is an unknown to a lot of people, but she's had 2 wins over Lorraine Winstanley. She's beaten Corrine Hammond. She's picked up a few scalps. She pushed Fallon Sherrock close in a semi-final as well. So yeah, maybe it would be nice. I know there's a lot of players that we do know in that list at the moment that are going or in the spots, but maybe one of the unknown players that we don't know too much about. Maybe we'll see a Jane Densley getting there as well.
But she's not on the UK entry list, the UKD entry list. So it's a very good chance she'll be playing and hopefully keeping up the form she's shown. And as you say, it's nice to get different faces in there because it certainly makes for more interesting interview guests for obviously yourself, myself. We're in that same predicament. Seeing the fresh faces is always nice to get different people to speak to.